Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. So, for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the brand new album from Canadian doom band Vile Creature. Vile Creature are a two-piece band that have been honing their craft over the last 6 years and are now about to release their third full-length, Glory Glory, Apathy Took Helm, on June 19th via Prosthetic Records. So, recently we've reviewed some very technical, very heavy albums. Aversion's Crown, Bleed From Within, Catatonia, to name a few, all of which have like multiple layers of instrumentation, big riffs, and polished productions. And it's hard not to be impressed by that like level of technicality. But sometimes, Duncan, sometimes a band comes along and equally impresses you, but without the need for all those extra bells and whistles. Now, I had never heard the Vile Creature, and I'm assuming you're the same.
Well, I asked you just before we hit record if this was their debut, so yeah, I think that's a fair assumption, Dave.
Yep. I'm sure you would have said to me, Dave, you need to check this band out, had you heard of Vile Creature.
Had I stumbled across these guys, through some sort of weird genius kind of pairing of, the people that listen to this, then yes, you would have got a screen grab and a have you checked this out ?
Yes. Well, I'd never heard of them, so what I decided was I would go back and listen to their previous release, first, which was released in 2018. It's called Cast of Static and Smoke. It is heavy. Like, it is heavy. Like early Conan heavy. But like mixed with like shades of like Sun Rot or like Body Void. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that album. Right up my street in terms of what I'm looking for from a doom band. So I was pretty excited to hear what direction they'd went on album number 3. And I think from the opening few bars of the first track, Harbinger of Nothing, it's pretty evident that Vile Creature have definitely been experimenting with some new ideas. It's still like got a desolate, doomy vibe to it, but it's like fused with bleak melodies and visceral emotion. That as an opening track completely keeps your attention and makes you totally intrigued to where it's going to go. And it's 11 minutes long, so like you can expect plenty of different textures and dynamics to come, but I thought some of the changes were actually quite subtle as well. Like there's the main riff that's played for the first few minutes of the track. It actually like comes back around the kind of 3-minute mark, but it's played slightly lower on the guitar. It's like a small change, but I thought it was really clever. It had quite a big impact. And then there's a really nice middle section of the track, which is kind of built around the same like chord structure as earlier, but it's played in a more like picked kind of style, a lot more kind of delicate, and it's surrounded with lots of like crashing drums and screaming vocals, kind of like ominous kind of background noise. It's kind of like the calm before the storm, when the sludgy guitars kind of come back in around the 9-minute mark, and again crushingly heavy, but they're like soaked in this like gloomy melody, which kind of makes them even more memorable, in my opinion. When the path is unclear, it's tracked to another 11-minute track.
If you've done one, you may as well.
Well, may as well. Pretty bold choice of placement, considering track 1 was also 11 minutes.
Yeah,
but
fuck your placement, Dave.
But due to this track's more kind of experimental arrangement, it works. It's a track that like feels like it's building towards something for the first kind of 4 and a bit minutes. Almost reminded me of Insect Arc, another band, at times, but then the track opens up into this like wall of corrosive riffs, hits you like a ton of bricks. It was actually the vocals though that hit me the hardest. They are just savage. Like that's the only word I can use to describe the vocals. So full of like feeling as well. And as much as I loved the like enormous riffs and melodies on this release, it's the vocals that actually grabbed me on each listen. Every time I listened to it, it was the vocals that stood out. Some of the themes on this record were mentioned in the press kit we got, are loss, trauma, and suffering. And you absolutely get that. It totally comes across in the music and the vocals. There's a kind of monstrous kind of groove riff on this track that kicks in around 7.5 minutes, something like that. And when it links up with those like kind of scathing screams, it's completely devastating. Track 3, or the third, sorry, the 3 kind of remaining tracks are all kind of slightly shorter in length, but equally as good.
Just shy of 8 minutes, just shy of 7 minutes and 7.5 minutes. Which once like that might seem me come across as sarcastic, and trust me, it really isn't. I think if you have enough to say in a track and have it run that length, then make it that length.
Yeah.
And if ever there was a subgenre of metal that affords the time to, I don't know, sit down, get comfy, breathe out a little bit, undo the top belt buckle, hand in the pants, you know what I mean, and breathe it out. It is this specific subgenre, and I'll give them this because I'll link in with some of the stuff you've said in a minute. But I'll give them this. Nothing they do here feels like too trodden, like at all. There's always, you think you hit the nail on the head. There's always something like a slight change in modulation or like a technique change that just keeps the tracks going at a pace where none of it feels overtly repetitive at all.
Yeah. You Who Has Never Slept. I think they released that as a single. There's a very kind of primal feel around it. It's got kind of heavy kind of tom work, and again, it reminded me of kind of early Conan at times as well. But as you said, what I love about Vile Creature is they do kind of like to keep you guessing. You're never quite sure what's coming next. Although there are like recurrent riffs or sections, there are moments or guitar parts that throw you completely off guard. And I heard more of that on this record than on their previous release. They definitely seem more kind of confident in their abilities on this album, which makes me even more excited like for what's to come after this. The last 2 tracks, though, are a kind of 2-part composition, I suppose. Glory, Glory, and then the last track, Apathy Took Helm. Glory, Glory is a very kind of angelic, kind of heavenly sounding track. It comes complete with like a choir. And then Apathy Took Helm continues with the kind of choir, but also injects this like onslaught of misery-filled sludge riffs and vocals. The tracks very much feel like they're kind of representing like light and dark, and it's a really kind of powerful end to the album. A really smart idea to use the choir actually, because it leaves a very kind of lasting impression. I don't know what you thought about the last few tracks, but
it's very difficult to that. I think that's where my appreciation stepped up a new level. It's very difficult, not impossible, and it hasn't. This is not like breaking like any sort of genre rules or anything like that by trying to bring in kind of choir-based vocals or whatnot, but to make it sit and work especially within the confines of what the 3 songs before I've done, and not feel like, oh well, that's a gimmick or that's out of place, or well, you jumped the shark there, didn't you? It works. It's surprisingly well written. And once again, I had assumed this was a debut, but surprisingly well written, and the actual composition of the track, moving into track 5, I personally felt worked incredibly well. And I think there's we've spoken about this before on some reviews, and people will be like, Duncan only has one phrase. And like I really enjoy music with in my later stages of life now, I enjoy music that is not. I know I'm getting there, Dave. I feel like I'm getting closer to the grave. But I like music that is not only challenging, because there's an aspect about that as a musician that, you know, I enjoy trying to work out what it is they're doing, where they're going next, or how they achieve something. But part of me enjoys texture. Texture's a huge thing with me in music now. And when you can, even small changes, like, you know, modulating a guitar, or like I said earlier on, a change of technique can add a lot of weight to what you're doing. But then when you start playing with instrumentation, you know, choir vocals and things, and it works, it fits it, that's where I get excited. I personally think, as this kind of, we got very excited when, if people out there have never heard Conan, by the way, please go and check out Conan. They're fucking incredible. But we got very excited when we first heard Conan, because we consider ourselves kind of doomy sludgy fans, and I think we realised that we only really listened to and I hate to use the word commercial, right? But the stuff that's not really all that fucking crushing, right? And then we started getting into a lot more of that. And the weird thing is, I've found myself drifting away from it, not because, you know, I've lost interest. It's just I've yet to find like a band that really excites me. And Vile Creature do. This particular release here, I think, is a wonderful example of attention to detail and attention to the craft. And the production is absolutely crushing, but not to the detriment of picking out what like you were saying earlier on, what the guitar's doing, what the vocals are doing, the drums sound fucking huge and monstrous, and it just adds to it, because when things are starting to be pulled back, or elements of kind of aggressive melody or whatnot added in, when those elements are kind of stripped back, it makes you anticipate when the next drop's gonna happen, and sometimes they just don't give you it for, you know, like you're now, all right now, and they kind of hold it back. And I think there's a I've heard people describe sludge and doom at times as being wholly one-dimensional, and I hate that. Probably just the same way that a lot of black metal fans hate when I say that a lot of black metal is solely one-dimensional. You have to get it right, otherwise it becomes long, drawn out, and boring. Vile Creature, genuinely, in my opinion, have created, and I said this on, I believe, the last podcast that we recorded, that it was one of the most disgusting sounding listens that I'd ever done first time through. I just felt dirty, like, really. And a lot of that comes down to the vocals. The vocals at times can be the most unpleasant thing you will listen to, and then at other times the most interesting thing you can listen to, and they mirror and sometimes invert on the track in interesting ways. I think it is a joy to listen to, man. Honestly, I've spun this one quite a few times now, and it's got me really excited to kind of delve back. It reminds me of like discovering those like bands like Ahab for the first time, and just sitting there and going, what fresh hell is this? It's that sort of level of excitement. And I didn't know they had previous releases. I shall be checking them out. But it gets thumbs up for me. I thought this across the board was great.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. And you mentioned texture, like this album has texture by the bucket load. I'd be really interested to see this live, actually.
Oh God, yeah.
Considering they're just a two-piece, but you know, it doesn't sound like a two-piece band at all on CD. So I'll be really interested to see them live. This is a great album, highly recommended from me, and I really liked Cast of Static and Smoke. And I was a little bit worried that this record wouldn't live up to that, but it definitely delivered more than I was anticipating. This band is absolutely one to watch. High recommendation. Rating wise, what would you say for this album?
So I've since we decided when we were recording. It's weird because on we were supposed to record this review a couple of days ago, and I was sitting about a 4 for it, and then interestingly enough, I listened to the album twice today, just in prep for this, and it's went up to a 4.5, and I feel really comfortable with that 4.5. I think there's a bit of room there. I don't think their next release will sound like this either.
No, probably not.
Which excites me even more because I can't wait to see what they do next. But yeah 4.5 for me.
Yep, I would completely agree with that. 4.5 from me as well. Great album, fantastic album. Definitely check this one out when it drops on June 19th. Vile Creature are the band, and the album is called Glory, Glory, Apathy Took Helm, out on Prosthetic Records. You can check the band out online at facebook.com/Vile Creature. All right. Cheers for that, guys. We shall see you on the next review. Cheers.
Bye.